It was Johnny Cash that said, "Money can't buy back your youth when you're old, a friend when you're lonely, or peace to your soul." And I think a lot of men are beginning to understand that there's a crystallization process that is occurring within them, and this is happening for them. They are at the point where men are realizing that the world and society in of itself really doesn't have much to offer them. And we're going to be the ones that are going to have to create or build or conquer something so that we can make a better life. Because I think it's kind of like in the Batman of the Robert Pattinson version, where at the beginning he's like, "I'm vengeance." He's all about like the fight and coming back and bringing forth this pain to the enemies. He wants to share the pain of and his dread of his life with his enemies and with the criminals of Gotham. But the thing is at the end of the movie, you start to realize that, Batman realizing is himself that he needs to also be a symbol of hope. He needs to be a symbol of compassion. He needs to be a symbol of transcendence. Because you see, like anybody that's seen the movie, he's helping the people, out of the stadium or whatever. And there's the boy that's like clinging to him. The boy's like clinging to him, and it used to not be that way. It used to be like, "Don't hurt me, don't hurt me." And now it's like, "Please, save me." Now he's developed into that more mature hero version of himself. And he's starting to realize that Batman as a symbol is supposed to be something more. And this is something that I've thought a lot about for my own brand, Regal Change, and this is why I'm doing things like writing this book and publishing the book. It's why I'm doing the Regal Change Academy. It's why I'm doing a one-on-one mentorship, because I saw that there was a godlike shaped hole in society, and there was a God-shaped hole in of itself that is just imminent and spreading through life like the superfluous disease that it is. And we have neither the tools nor the encouragement as men to really conjure a solution. We have to create the tools. We have to create everything. Like, we have to create from the ground up everything that's happening, because society has left men out to dry. They've left them out in the cold. And we understand as men that we're not going to be loved unconditionally. We're going to be loved based on what we can value, or we can provide for value. But at the same time, I think it's gone too far. I think it's gone too far. And a lot of the men that I've talked with over 350 different kinds of people in the world over the past couple years. And about maybe 320 of them have been men. And in one-on-one mentorship calls. So it's a majority of the men that I've talked to. And I would say about half of those men that I talk to, they are just hungry for purpose. They're hungry. They're starving for responsibility. But a lot of them don't know that this is actually what they're starving for. This is actually what they're hungry for. All that they know is the pursuit of pleasure. All that they know is the pursuit of materials. And what's crazy is some of the most spiritual people that I know have the hardest time cultivating things in them physical. And yet it's the vice versa. Some of the people that I've met that are fairly well off, not all of them, not even remotely all of them, but just a couple of them, have been very, very well off materialistically, but inside to their souls, they're empty, man. It's really terrible. It's really sad, but at the same time, can you blame them? Who is it in society that we're looking up to? Who is it in society that is seen as an example? I personally, I understand that people will say like, "Oh, well, just by you having a following on social media makes you an example, and it's like that's true, but at the same time, I'm not telling anybody how they should live. I'm not telling anybody how they should live their life or should be cultivating themselves. I'm just saying that this is what's worked for me, this is what's not worked for me. Do what you will. And I genuinely have faith and enough confidence in myself for everything that I've done. I'm proud of who I am. I've made mistakes, and there's times where I miss the mistakes that I didn't make. I was finishing up a painting this evening, and I was really just, thinking about the emotions that we're invoking and that were just being expressed through the artwork. It's just like, man, I was listening to some Bob Dylan at the time, and I was listening to If You See Her, Say Hello. I don't know if that's the name of the song, but it's like, if you see her, say hello. Ba-da-da-da-da. And I was thinking about the first time that I listened to that song. And I remember the first time I listened to that song was when I was really starting to get to know this woman who was older than me at the time. Well, she's still older than me, but at the time she was, this is one of the first women I've talked to that was older than me. Very attractive woman, seemingly godly woman. And I had just found out that she was married, and she was just playing the game, and she was just trying to get my attention and all that. And she actually even insinuated that she would leave her husband for me, and I was very uncomfortable with that. And then as soon as I rejected her, she tried to get me in jail, which was thank God I dodged that bullet. But I was thinking about the first time that I expressed those feelings of my acknowledgement within myself, like, wow, I had these feelings. And then I had to listen to another song, and I was thinking about just the emotions of that song. And it wasn't nostalgia, right? It's not nostalgia, but in a sense, it was just like, man, those problems, like the problems that I thought I had a few years ago were nothing. They were nothing compared to the problems that I'm dealing with today. And I genuinely think that you can tell a lot about a person based on the size and the content of their problems. So when I hear a lot of men, say that their biggest problem is lust, to me, that's just that. That's something that's going on within your spirit. And for some reason, I've always had an easier time mastering things inside myself than mastering things in the physical world. Even though I'm adept and I'm competent in the physical world, it's always been easier for me to self-reflect. It's always been easier for me to understand the spiritual side of things and to be closer to God. It made more sense for me, because I know that this world is so tumultuous and it's so futile and it's fickle and it's flighty. There's nothing permanent in this world. And yet so many men, their biggest issue is just lust and their insatiable desire for lust. And I never understood, I had that for quite a while up until I started semen retention. And, now I would say that I've definitely mastered it. I don't have, of course there are temptations every now and again, but it's nowhere near as powerful. And I know that it's oh yeah, that's a temptation. I just acknowledge it and I accept that it's a temptation and I move on with my day. It's not I'm going to go think about this and fantasize about this. It's no. It's just oh yeah, yep, that's a temptation. It's the size of the monster is just lust is like a monster that when you think that it's way bigger than you, right? It's just this really big monster with yellow eyes and green teeth, and it's just haunting you in the back, just urging you to just take her. Like that's the kind of, at least that's the kind of monster that I have lust in my mind as. And when you stop listening to it, when you just like you listen to it, but you don't encourage it internally, that monster starts to go from like 10 feet tall and 12 feet wide to like an ant inside your mind. So it's like it's still there and you can still hear it, but instead of the you have to go do this, you have to go take her, you must have sex with her. And now it's like, oh, you must have sex with her. You must, like it's just a completely different voice. It's just like, oh yeah, that's just a silly voice. That's just a silly temptation. That's the kind of approach that I have to it anyway. And I think that, for me, it's always been more about like, okay, how do I speak the truth into being and get paid for it? How do I put the universe on my payroll? That's really what my goal is. Like, how do I put the universe on my payroll? How do I do that? I know that it's possible. I know how to, like, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. And this has always been my issue. Like even my destination for spirituality, like I knew it was like enlightenment. I knew that enlightenment was also not a destination though. I knew it was like the journey. I knew that I had experienced these, like when I really started to get close to Christ, when I really started to get really close to Christ, but I wasn't quite with him yet, and I didn't quite look at him just yet. It was like, okay. I know what to do. I know I need to let go. I know I need to surrender. But what do I need to surrender to exactly, and how do I do that? Like, what do I do exactly? And really the thing that sparked it was this woman, like meeting this older woman, realizing the depths of female nature and their deception levels, because it's just their nature. Like, it's just who they are. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's like, I mean, I definitely don't encourage deception, but it's just, that's what they do, man. Like, that's what they are. We started the Art of Seduction class series today in the Regal Change Academy, and that's just something we talked about as well with the hypergamy stuff. One of the people in the group brought up hypergamy and how even in the Regal Change Academy, there have been people that have gotten upset, men specifically, that got upset about female hypergamy. And it's like, bro, if you get upset about it and you complain about it, there's really no alternative. And you know what? It's true. It's not really fair for most men out here to have to work 10 times as hard to get half the kind of woman that was available, 50 years to 100 years ago. It's just not fair. It's not. But what else are you going to do, man? Like, what else? Like, what the alternative is to sit in that hellishness. The alternative is to sit in this hellishness state of consciousness. And then you at least get to decide, like, okay, this is the way the world works. These are the cards I've been dealt. Well, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. And I might as well not fall into that hellishness consciousness. I might as well rise and transcend. I might as well move forward. Pick up my integrity. Pick up my dignity. Acknowledge the hardships of life, but also move forward with a face of bold confidence in the good, the true, and the beautiful. What else are you going to do, man? Like, what else? Do you really want to sit in that state where you're bitter and resentful? It's not good. Like, and I understand the attractiveness, man. I understand. It's like the dark side of the force will seduce you into it. Because we talked about this in the Art of Seduction too, how the dark side of the force, if you've ever watched Star Wars, the dark side of the force always seduces. They say, Vader was seduced by the dark side of the force. Count Dooku was seduced by the dark side of the force. They don't say like he chose the force. He chose the dark side of the force, rather. They say that they were seduced by the dark side. Okay? So it's not to say that seduction is evil. It's not to say that seduction is bad or a dark side of the force. It's just that it's capable, it's like a neutral form of power. Okay? And life in of itself has a lot of neutral forms of power. Like good and evil are just ways in which we can describe how power works. Okay, justice. Okay, this is going back to like the Batman thing, right? At the beginning of this video. Justice is very, very important. Justice is vital to a healthy society. Plato knew this, Socrates knew this, and if you've ever read The Republic, where is that book? I've got the book somewhere. Anyway, if you've ever read The Republic, then you'll know that justice is talked about for like 5 chapters and mentioned throughout the whole thing. It's a huge and there's only like 12 chapters or something in The Republic, I think. But anyway, Plato's Republic, they talk a whole lot about justice. And Socrates gets really, really heavy, hard-hitting questions to ask under the students and the people. He's like, well, what do you mean by justice? Exactly how does justice work? What does justice look like? Why is justice like this? Like, it's really good, solid questions. Really powerful, profound questions. Ultimately getting at like the inevitability of truth arising from curiosity. And I think that this is something else that men are realizing. Men are realizing now that the more curious you are about the world, the more you realize that it's always working against you, man. Like, there's competition everywhere. Everywhere is competition. And we're moving into a new day and age unlike any other. Okay, I cannot stress the importance of AI and crypto that will be playing a part in your life. I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. But I'm not like, how do I say this? I'm smart enough to know not to be dumb about this kind of stuff that's coming. Okay, I have to stay up to date about it. I have to know, because crypto, for example, Bitcoin, just because you don't want to understand Bitcoin or you don't want to know about Bitcoin, even myself, like, I'm speaking to me too, it's like it doesn't diminish the probability of your currency wherever you are in the world, your government currency or your country currency. It doesn't mean that it's not going to diminish that value there. Okay, food is going to become the ultimate commodity. I foresee within the next 20 or 30 years, maybe. Because, I mean, things are just changing so fast. And one thing about food that I've recently thought about too is, it's like we're so much sold on what to eat and how to eat. And we're fed these lies so that we can buy things that are not good for us, thinking that it's good for us. Meanwhile, the things that we don't think are good for us are actually good for us. Somebody told me, or, well, not really told me, but like I saw in comments recently on one of my videos, somebody said, like, oh, I'm like, I like your skin complexion, or I wish I had your skin complexion or something. And, that I thank them. That's very flattering. And then I saw one of the comments that said, well, don't eat meat. Bro, all I do is eat meat, man. Like, that's all I do. That's all I do. Like 80 to 90% of my diet is meat. All that I've had today, the only thing that I've had all day is meat. Meat, butter, and beef tallow. Okay, that's it. That's all I've had all day. Meat, butter, and beef tallow. I've made these carnivore bars. They're not technically carnivore because I drizzle honey and salt on top. Well, the salt is okay to have on carnivore, but like the honey isn't. So I call them these carnivore bars because it's basically carnivore. But like what I did was, and I posted this in the school community, the Regal Change Academy community and school that we have. I posted a picture of them, and basically what you do is you cook the meat, okay, and then you blend it, and you add butter and tallow and whatnot, when you're cooking the beef. So then you mix it all together, you blend it up, and you don't really have to blend it, I guess, if you don't want to, but you can blend it up, and then you put it in a pan, you spread it out, you can put it in the fridge, and there you go. You have, this high protein, really simple, really easy meal, basically, that you can get for like 30 grams of protein. You don't have to eat or drink protein shakes, okay? I'm not against protein shakes or protein powder, but I think that it's better to get your fuel source from actual food, no matter what. Again, nothing wrong with protein powder and such, but like, this is another one of the lies. It's like, again, what is society offering us other than lies and deception? Like, this is the father's this is not the Father's work. This is the devil, his work. And everybody that wants the devil to be their father, they can go over there. Over here, we want God to be our Father because we know God is the Father. He is the Father. We don't need Satan. And that's why men are realizing that society just doesn't offer them much. It just is the way that it is. Relationships, careers, everything's changing. And now it's adapt or die. Really, I genuinely think that that's where we're at. So, with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. I hope everybody stays blessed out there. Peace. Until next time.